Leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about building the capacity of others so that together you can move schools and communities forward.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Accelerate Your Performance podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Janet Pilcher, founder and president of Studer Education. Last week, we dove into building a unified, aligned system grounded in equity. So if you missed that, please go back and listen. And this week, we tackle another aspect of excellence, multiplying leadership and the inseparable connection between culture and strategy. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that information about our 2026 DHP K-12 Leadership Conferences has been posted at studereducation.com/events. Please take a look and start planning to join us. Our virtual conferences are always a hit because you don't even have to leave your district to connect with and learn from like-minded leaders who are committed to excellence just like you. So today I'm excited to introduce you to Dr. Jamie Burkhart, the Director of Women in Leadership for the Missouri Association of School Administrators. Dr. Burkhart has dedicated over 31 years to leading and supporting Missouri's public schools. As you'll hear today, her leadership is marked by a commitment to continuous improvement, empowering others, and building capacity. Join me as I welcome Dr. Burkhart to hear about her journey from superintendent to state level director and why leadership is ultimately about building the capacity of others. So let's dive in. It's with great pleasure that I welcome Dr. Jamie Burkhart to our show today. Jamie, it's so good to have you with us today.
I am very pleased and excited to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And Jamie, you've been a longtime partner. You were a longtime partner of Studer Education starting back in the day when you were superintendent, and now you've transitioned into a new role. So talk a little bit about the transition from that role to your current position as Director of Women in Leadership at the Missouri Association of School Administrators, and talk then about what has this journey been like and what are you most passionate about in this new chapter?
Yes, ma'am. I loved our partnership with Studer Education when I was an assistant superintendent. The alignment to the 9 principles gave us these processes of excellence that weren't just about one leader. They were about creating this culture that could last long after the leader had moved on. And that was powerful to me. So, it's leadership that's just not about the person in the chair. It's about building something that endures and lifts others up when you're not in the chair. So I was able then to use these processes when I became superintendent. And I know that that's a big part of my success. And then when I transitioned into my current role as Director of Women in Leadership with MASA, the Missouri Association of School Administrators, I found myself leaning on those same processes. They help me think strategically, to listen deeply, and then to create professional development that's meaningful and lasting. Our Women in Leadership initiative, it started very small. Dr. Sarah Riss gathered this group of we have 5 female school leaders in a room. And, we were just asking, how do we do better? And how do we better support our female superintendents? And out of that conversation came our very first Women in Leadership Summit. At that time, we invited only female superintendents. So we're, about 50 to 60 women came. And we had a handful of sponsors, and it was intimate. It was personal and it was powerful. And so fast forward to now, we are preparing for our 7th annual summit with over 300 expected attendees and more than 30 sponsors. Right. So we've expanded beyond just our female superintendents to include assistant superintendents, cabinet members, building leaders, even aspiring leaders. So, it excites me that many of our female superintendents, that they're building capacity among their team by bringing their leadership teams with them. So they're intentionally growing the next generation of leaders. So the most important, or let me just say the most special, I guess, part of this journey is that our summit, it isn't just planned from the top down. We have this planning team of women. We've continued with that. These female leaders from across the state of Missouri who decide what's really most important in this moment, whether it's navigating political pressures, addressing school funding challenges, tackling teacher shortages, or just simply creating this time to recharge. Every year, we build something that it responds to the real challenges that we are facing at that time, and we can create these actionable steps that help us to lead stronger schools. So for me, this chapter is about multiplying leadership. It's about ensuring that women in leadership feel seen, that they feel supported and equipped, and that they in turn will build the capacity of others. Watching this grow from this group of 5 women around a table to now statewide, it's like this statewide movement, and it's just been one of the greatest joys in my entire career. I now get to work with female leaders actually across the nation. And as I share the exciting things that are going on with our MASA Women in Leadership programming, like our annual Women in Leadership Summit, we have a statewide virtual book study. We have our Women in Leadership regional facilitators who are dedicated to creating learning and networking opportunities within their regions of our state. And now our very first Women in Leadership cohort, sponsored by Studer Education. I'm often told that they wish that they had the same supports in their states. So how exciting it is to have been part of the development of MASA Women in Leadership and this initiative, and now hear that other states are looking at us to learn more about what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, so good. And I mean, we're so proud to be connected with you, Jamie, reconnected with you, and proud to be part of the great work that you're doing. And as you were talking, I was thinking you're a model. You're a model for what other states can do. And I do think it's a movement in terms of how you begin to build the support in what you do. And the great contributions of pipeline building, really beginning to give aspiring leaders, women leaders, an opportunity to see what it's like to have a mentor, to build those connections and deeper relationships. So I just love what you're doing. Love the opportunity to be connected to you again, and to your state and to this group. So thank you for that. And the other thing, as you were talking, I know now that you're looking at that state level and looking at trends and then looking at national trends. So let's tackle it from that standpoint as a next question. From your perspective as a state leader, what are some of the most significant trends you're seeing in education right now, and how is MASA addressing those trends and supporting leaders in your state?
Yes, as I thought about this question, from my perspective of a state level leader, some of the most significant trends that we are seeing in education right now revolve around people and purpose. Recruiting and retaining staff continues to be one of our biggest challenges. Across Missouri and really across our country, we're facing our teacher shortages. We're facing administrator turnover and really just increased demands on our workforce and education. And the challenge isn't about just simply filling those positions. It's about creating environments where people really feel valued, they feel supported, they feel inspired, and they want to stay and they want to grow. Another trend is the critical importance of intentional culture building. Schools are navigating political pressures. We're navigating funding challenges and ever rising expectations in the midst of all of this. And in that environment, culture isn't just one of those things that we can say is nice to have. It's essential. And, a healthy supportive culture helps districts attract great people. It helps districts retain great people and also keep them thriving. So, finally, I would say there's a heightened need for strategic improvement. Leaders are being asked to do more with less. And so it's critical to have our systems and processes in place that allow us to focus our energy on what really matters for our students and communities. And so at MASA, we're addressing those trends, and we're making sure that leaders don't face them alone. We provide professional learning and workshops for our leaders at every stage of their careers. We have aspiring superintendents learning opportunities. We have our academy for new superintendents. We have mentors for first-year leaders. We have coaching programs for both newer and veteran superintendents. So our professional learning extends into specialized areas then as well, like school finance, insurance, transportation, personnel, communications, working with school boards, advocacy, like you name it. We provide those programs to help our school leaders navigate it. Because it's a tough job, and our leaders deserve support at every turn in their career. And so, again, what excites me the most, it is that spirit of collaboration that I'm seeing in our Missouri leaders. Whether it's through our Women in Leadership programming, our statewide conferences that we have, our specialized workshops, our leaders are leaving with this renewed energy, these practical strategies, and this sense that we're not doing this in isolation, that it's not something that we do alone. We don't have to lead in silos. And they get that energy back, they take it home, it multiplies, and it strengthens their staff, their students, and their entire communities. So that spirit of collaboration as we work with them, that really excites me the most.
Yeah, so good. And, Jamie, as you're talking, sometimes I talk about people ask questions about trends, and we talk about internal and external factors. And what I really love about what you're saying right now is that there are things that are internal factors that we can't control. There are external factors that we can't control. If we spend too much time on those, we're not going to solve the problem. But all the things that you're talking about are ways that you and the organization and your state has taken ownership of those things you can control. And it's really the focus on culture and strategic improvement. So let's talk a little bit from your experience. Firsthand what you've just said, that culture and strategic improvement are the foundation to achieving those outcomes. So share a little bit, if you would, an example of a culture-focused initiative or strategic improvement effort that you led that moved to positive change for district.
Yeah, I thought about this one, and when I first became superintendent, I walked into a very difficult situation. The previous superintendent had been placed on administrative leave, and there was ultimately a separation agreement that resulted. And while an interim superintendent was brought on then to manage some of the big things, he was only part-time. And so by the time I started, trust across the district between the staff, the board, the community, it was all fractured. And I knew that it was going to, well, if I were going to move forward, culture had to come first. So we couldn't make any meaningful progress until people felt heard. They felt valued and respected. And so that's why I leaned heavily on what I'd learned from my partnership with Studer Education. I focused on putting processes in place that created real opportunities for engagement, for feedback. And we started with some surveys, but the key was not to just gather input. It was to be truly, fully transparent. And we shared the results openly. We talked about where we were on our goals, and we invited conversation about how do we improve in these areas? And I also made a personal commitment to do my own rounding with every staff member. I wanted to hear directly from them about what was working and what wasn't, and what they needed to be successful. And so just those simple but very intentional processes helped our school community begin to heal. People could see that their voices mattered, that they were being honest about, we were being honest about who we were and about what our commitments were, and that we were really committed to move forward together. Over time, those efforts did build trust. They created clarity, and they set the stage for our strategic goals that, they actually stuck, right? And so what I learned then is that culture and strategic improvement, those are inseparable.
Yes.
You can't talk about improvement if you don't first build or rebuild trust and connection. But when you do, that progress that you make, it's deeper, it's more sustainable, and it's more meaningful for the staff and for students and for that entire community. So it's exciting to mention that when I retired, we had completed most of the goals that we set from our strategic planning. And I say it's the relationship between culture and strategic improvement, that attention to really connecting both of them, that helped us, as we like to say, go slow to go fast.
Got it.
In our work. Yeah. So being intentional, being purposeful, making those important decisions, and continuing to be very transparent throughout that whole process. Those are the parts that were hardwired and allowed us to make those huge improvements in that district.
Yeah, so good, Jamie. And it's so we're going to have our virtual conference in April in 2026, and just the theme of that's going to be culture and strategy go hand in hand. I mean, you just teed it up in a way. I mean, they're not separate. I mean, they're specific to what we do. You can't move your strategy forward unless you do what you did, and that is build a trusting relationship and that emotional bank account with your people and build them as part of that process. So just just something for all of us to continue to learn from. So as we close today, let's take it back to you. Your career is a powerful example. I mean, just the work that you've done as a leader and the contributions you've made to the state and nation. You've committed to continuous improvement. So what advice do you have for other educators who are pursuing, let's say, leadership roles? Because you're working with those individuals day in and day out. And is there one piece of, key piece of wisdom you'd share with somebody just starting that journey?
If I had one piece of advice to give to an aspiring leader, it would be this: leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about building the capacity of others so that together you can move schools and communities forward. Throughout my career, I've learned that continuous improvement, it's not just this little checklist.
Yeah, that's right.
It's truly a mindset. And you will face challenges, whether it's budget shortfalls or those political pressures that I referred to, or just navigating change in your community, because change is hard. But if you approach these challenges with curiosity and humility and a commitment to listen and learn, you're not only going to grow yourself, but you're going to help others grow too. So I would also tell leaders that you don't have to do the work alone. You find your network, you find your mentors, and then you surround yourself with the people who will both encourage you and will challenge you. Some of the best ideas that I have ever implemented, they didn't come from me, but from conversations with those trusted colleagues and staff and friends who felt empowered. So they spoke up. And I'll be honest, imposter syndrome is real. I had to overcome that. And some days I still do. And that's why it's important that we explicitly tell others, especially female leaders and educators, that we see leadership potential in them. Like, we have to tap them on the shoulder. We have to lift them up. I was one that I really didn't see myself as a leader early on. In fact, I once told people that I would never, ever want to be an administrator. But it was because other people saw something in me. I began to see it in myself. Their encouragement gave me the courage to take that first step into school leadership. So, I mean, back to that statement, imposter syndrome is real, but courage is stronger. So I'm a leader today because someone once told me that they saw this in me. And so now my advice would be the voice that lifts others. Be brave enough to lead yourself. And then that's how we change our future. So my last piece of wisdom, I would say, would just, don't forget to be brave. Courage doesn't mean that you're never afraid. It just means that you step forward anyway. And as you step forward, you are guided by your mission, and you're standing strong in your values when you do so. So for me, my mission has always been that, well, I want to build up others. I want to build the capacity of others. I want to build the capacity of our students, of our staff, of our leadership, of our community members. That's my mission. That's what I really stand for. And so when we do that, our impact multiplies. So when you focus on empowering others around you, your leadership doesn't just make a difference in your school district, it can ripple out and it can shape the future. And so stepping out, being brave, being curious, not listening to those negative thoughts that provide that whole imposter syndrome, that can help you really move forward in your leadership as you're listening to others, and then that shapes the future.
Yeah, so good, Jamie. And I know, years ago, back to kind of where we started, I know Dr. KKO, and she recognized the goodness in you. I mean, when we were reconnecting and mentioned to KK, she just had really good things to say about you, and proud of kind of where you've moved through the leadership ranks to be where you are today. So, our connection with you, our connection now with the state is meaningful to us because we had that opportunity to build that initial connection with you years ago. And that's the relationship building. You're important, and the people that you're touching and connecting with are really, really important. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to work alongside you. It's gonna be a great partnership, and just love being connected.
Oh, thank you. Our partnership has just been a real joy, and the excitement that I see from our women in leadership cohort in particular, when they are leaving from a very full day of learning, and then they come back when we've had our virtual reflection conversations, and they continue to say, this is it. This is worth it. This is the piece that I'm missing. And it's so actionable. I mean, what a blessing to be able to continue to build the capacity in our female leaders in that regard.
It absolutely is. Jamie, thank you so much. And thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Burkhart, for joining us today. And what you said about culture and strategic improvement being inseparable are a powerful reminder that we must go slow to go fast. And we do this so we can build trust and capacity before attempting major change. And I love the advice you shared with aspiring leaders. Imposter syndrome is real, but courage is stronger. Don't forget to be brave. May we all be brave enough to lead ourselves and be the voice that lifts others up. Thank you for doing that in your districts and being the leaders that you are. And thank you for tuning into this episode of the Accelerate Your Performance podcast. I look forward to seeing you next time as we continue to work together toward organizational and leadership excellence. Have a great week, everyone.